Research has shown that men can find the transition to becoming a father challenging and have reported feelings of exclusion in health professional relationships. Furthermore, they have felt that their support needs are often not met, and they reflect on feeling unprepared for the changes that occur when they became a father. NHS 2024. Today, I'm really, really excited because I have two men who I have observed and watched, not on purpose, but through social media and relationship so closely. And yes, both of them are both men of God, but also they are men who care about their community. There are men that when things are happening, I see their opinions and that they reach out in support. And I really, really respect that, because at times men can feel unsupported. So I do want to thank both of you for being great examples. And I really, really do honor and respect both of you. And I'm so grateful and excited that you both agreed. I do, because I prayed that. Don't attack you guys. They were not even lying.
They was calm.
I was surprised you said yes, because... So I'm going to introduce both of you, but I do want you guys to speak about yourselves, not because you didn't send bios, but because so this is the summary. This is the summary that I came up with. So Ayo Oduniyi is a father, husband, pastor, and an award-winning principal photographer, a founder of an amazing community called 412 Men. Prince Made is also a father, husband, pastor, a man of God, and a women's and men specialist who also has a community where men are empowered and mentored and pushed to their full potential. One thing about Pastor Prince, he's going to tell you the truth, and he's going to use his own personal experience as well to encourage you. But I do want you guys to speak about yourselves. So Pastor Ayo, I'll start with you.
Ayo, husband of one wife, my darling, Susan Oduniyi, my father to son Josias, who's 2. So like you said, photographer, been a photographer for the last 13 years now, I think. So weddings, corporate, and then commercial as well. Also got a passion for men, so I started the 412 Men community about 7 years ago this year, I believe. So we're passionate about men. 3 key values is community, accountability, and responsibility. So we based that on the formation of Adam. It's not good to be alone. Adam was held accountable when Adam and Eve sinned, and we also emphasized responsibility. Before God gave Adam a wife, he gave him work. So we believe that those 3 values summarize what it means to be a man, and we try to infuse that through our gatherings and meetings. But also pastor of church, living in London. I mean, the list is long, guys. Like, love creatives, love men, and I'm passionate about God's kingdom being established. So
Oh, that's amazing. Yes, myself, Prince Made, father of one, and also husband to a beautiful wife as well, from Made, who you guys probably know her as Reverend Pearl. And like my brother here says, also passionate for men. I also have a platform called Manifest, which, the idea of it is to seek the lost, to teach the found, and then to send the disciples. Good. So almost in that way that we go out there, look for men in communities to make sure that all of them are identified with who God has called them to be. And also a CEO of a fashion house, so which I've been running now for about 5 or 6 years. Really passionate about fashion, and to see men also look their best. We're venturing into women's wear. My wife wearing the suit, so we're venturing into that. So that is pretty much about myself, and I work as a full-time as a consultant during the daytime as well. So just balancing all the titles.
That's amazing. Now we're going to speak about balance today. One thing I do again really like is that the work both of you do is groundwork. It's groundwork. There's one thing about sitting in positions where you can make the orders or share your views, your total views, but there's something about forming the relationships, which I have observed in my work is important, forming the relationships with the fathers or the men or the young boys, ignoring them. I think that's really important. So I'm going to go straight into it. So is there a significant transition between being a man and becoming a father?
Right. Cool.
Let's dissect.
You could go first.
Okay, yeah. I think yes, to answer your question, there is. I have a 7-year-old now, and even becoming a father, there's different aspects of it that you discover about yourself. I think one of the main
About yourself.
about yourself first. I think one of the main key thing is you understand that every single action, words, and everything you do now has a footprint that somebody else could actually follow.
Right.
So you have to now be mindful. I think for me, the biggest transition is to know that the life that I now live, especially with my wife, somebody else is now observing it. And through my relationship with her, we can create the most incredible young man, or we can create a monster for the community. So now I'm mindful of not only my words, but also my action. Now I'm also mindful of I'm creating something that's beyond me. So your mindset is now switched to posterity mindset. So not just about what I can acquire or what I can be or what I can do. It's almost now, okay, what does God say about fatherhood? So you begin to, you mature very quickly. Yeah. Sonship. Being a father matures you, speeds up the maturity. I think you begin to understand things a bit more.
And do you think there's some responsibility of the influence that you have on your son? Do you think you, being a father, hold that sole responsibility with your wife? Or do you think society has an impact as well? Or your role is more than that? More than the role of society? Because people would say there are different elements. Society, school. I work with a lot of families that it's always school, and I try and bring it back. Actually, home is the first. We focus on, what Peppa Pig is saying, shut up, daddy. But then honestly, there's a lot of projection on the external.
Right.
So my question to you is, do you think fathers and mothers have the sole responsibility? And the impact is, I don't know if you guys understand my question.
The sole responsibility of raising
raising a child.
I believe is a mixture of all those things you listed. I think the foundation of it, of course, comes from home, where they receive the principles. They understand the identity. They understand what shaped their language and the way they see the world, and also to establish level of discipline also at home. I feel once that foundation is established, then the idea of maybe community, they can learn from community as well. Because as a dad and as my wife as well, who is the mother, we don't know everything. Yeah. Because we don't know everything, we need teachers who are better than at us at teaching. We need individuals in the community who have gone ahead of us. So maybe other people have multiple kids, or they've been there, done that. So we can also learn from them. So the first part of your question is, we need to establish the foundation at home. We need to establish the principle. We need to establish the identity, and to let them know that this, as the house of Mades, this is what governs and rules us. Okay. So when you step outside, if you see something that's contrary to our language, our culture, do not be afraid to oppose it. Yeah. It doesn't mean you have to accept it. And if there's something that agrees with our principle, you can embrace it to the extent of what you understand. So if you don't understand it, ask questions and be curious enough. So teachers have their role to play because they are better teachers than me. I would teach differently compared to how my son's teacher would teach. Mentors as well have different roles that they play. And individuals within the society, I think is really key. Yeah.
I'm going to do a very big parent practitioner thing here. There's something that Pastor Prince just said, but it will be good if parents actually practically do it. If they sit with their children, sit with their sons and their daughters, and practically write, what is the culture of this family? Not necessarily rules, but what is our ethos? Many of us went to secondary schools where we were reading that the ethos. What is the ethos of this family? We speak about culture, about what to do, what not to do, but sometimes children don't know, which is why maybe they learn, they pick up things from external factors. So that is a good strategy, just practical strategy. Pastor Ayo. Do you want to make the question again?
Yeah, no, I got the question. Yeah, I think, he asked the question very well. I think there was definitely a significant transition. So I was reading the question, I was still thinking that even that significance, how people are even defining what it means to be a man, then now to even now become a father, I feel like even that transition puts another level of weight and pressure on, like you were saying, you learn more about yourself as a father, which then challenges your, I'll use the word loosely, level or expression of manhood.
Yeah.
Which now will, even for me personally, I'll be honest, when I became a father, I immediately thought about how I was fathered.
Yes.
And you're conscious of consciously, yeah. And you're consciously even like being introspective with like what you liked about it and what you didn't like about it. And then even now, 2 years in, realizing there's something I just did. I'm doing things now that I didn't think that I would be doing. That's based on mannerisms or just attitude or just like, you know. So it's just like, wow, like you realize that like there's a lot of eternal work when it comes to what you want to define to be a father and actually be it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's a very humbling, extremely humbling experience. And I think that's the follow-up question about you asked him about, is it the sole responsibility of parents? So I think, yes, foundation, or maybe the word will be, as parents, we have the chief responsibility, because they're our children, so we're stewards over them. But then I'm also thinking of it like, from my own experience, like, you know, I came from a good home. I wouldn't say I wasn't came from a good home, but then realizing the power and the influence of company. So, you know, you remember the scripture, bad company corrupts good character. So it doesn't mean I wasn't good there already. It means that the company had the potential, the ability to corrupt. So even now, as I'm fathering, I was talking to my wife about it as well. So, you know, I'm very intentional about the environment and the community that my child has to walk in. Like we're being like we live in a quite predominantly white area. Even now, I'm thinking, I'm like, to my friends, look, we need to buy houses near each other. I grew up Hackney, Lewisham. We were close to family. You know, we were close to people that looked like us, etc. So there's a sense of community that allowed me to really walk out my identity. And if I'm honest, I said, man, I learned more from what I saw than just what I was being told. You know what I mean, kind of thing. So I think community, us being very intentional about the environments that our kids are growing in, would be the smartest thing that we can do when it comes to how they will end up. You know, the Bible talks about, you know, if you walk with the wise, you become a wise, you can plan your force. So I think parents shouldn't underestimate the power of community, of company, that has the ability to corrupt all the good work that you have done, whether you are doing in your children. I think that has to be something that I'm thinking about. Is too. I think about it from now. Like, what's the intentionality of it, and being humble enough to realize, you know, I can only do what I can do to plant foundations. You know, they still have choices to make. Just by the grace of God, they make the right ones. But which is I
totally agree. I think reality is key. Even when we were looking to move, we ask ourselves, who do we want to be around? So we bought around somewhere that we know, okay, my closest friend is, and he has the same principles on us, things that governs it. So to make sure that, okay, you can see this person and we can show you this person. And I think my parents really did a good job of that growing up. They would literally take us outside of the house and we would look down our community and say, look, you know the way parents should be. Look at those, if they are lawyers. See, look at your life. See those when they are doctors. If I send you to school, you must. So I think community is really key, and people you surround yourself with is very key. Even at a very young age now, I always ask him the key question, who did you play with today? So once he gives me the list of names, I am watching the parents.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I'm watching the parents. Are they the one that swears? Are they smoking? Are they doing, or are they behaving in a certain way in public? So I've said, look, remember our principle we spoke about? That we don't lie. See over there, they're doing it. That's not us. I'm pointing it out to him immediately. So, you know, at home when we're praying, I'm saying to him, we're not going to be playing with those people like that. What we do, we'll pray for them. So that is a way to explain to him the difference of, even though if I'm going to, in a Christian way, we're not going over there. Without making him feel like, oh, I can't play with everyone. I'm saying you can play with everyone, but this list of names, we're going to pray on our Bible to them. We're going to pray for them because they're yet to be a Christian like you. And they're yet to understand. They say, okay, we're going to pray. And you list the names. God, this boy misbehaving in class today. God, please, he was on red today. No, let me be on green. You know, so those kind of things with navigating. What you said is so true, because as a father, all of a sudden the world feels so dangerous. All of a sudden you get a sense of danger. I remember the first time I carried my son, I'm thinking, this world is too corrupt to have you in it. And all of a sudden you're thinking, we need to begin to plant things and navigate things. So yeah, those are the practical things as well you can do, even in community, to make sure.
Parents should be encouraged. You know, if I use something as an example, like don't negate like your good principles, your values, your teachers are seeds. Like, even over time, if your child does go away with those things at all, the school, his friends are gonna have bad influence on them. As they mature, the seeds that I know from now, he won't forget or she won't forget as they mature in life or whatnot. So I feel like there has to be a level of grace period where we know that, look, especially the teenage years, where like or not, because one thing is that we're doing really good, and I feel like whilst we're talking, I was thinking, you know what, there's also a temptation for us as children where we can become familiar with our parents and with what they say, and that we know okay, that's going to say you know what I mean. So I say that because the curiosity of what is the experience of what that is saying, the other side of it, that I may want to explore, that now, you know, what you teach them, and if it's good, the experience will now show them, you know what I'm saying, right versus wrong. And I'm just saying that because I don't want it to be a case of where, you know, parents even not feel maybe it's the only they're solely responsible for that outcome. More than they are for planting and saying seeds that time will reveal itself to them. So yeah, that makes sense what I'm saying.
That does make sense. I think the main thing from what I picked up is intentionality. Intentionality, being intentional as a father, actually thinking, reflecting. Again, go back to my therapeutic side, noticing the counter transference, you know, where I'm seeing something that looks like me. It happens in the therapy room with strangers. It happens to me with adolescents and parents, where there's something about us that is similar, that's connected, that's making us repel or attach ourselves to each other, where I now feel I have to be your advocate, and I feel I have to be your big sister because I have a little sister your age. So, but I'm seeing that you guys both of you gave examples of that transparent when you're looking at your son and you're thinking, oh, I just behave the same way as my dad, or I have a fear that you may do this because I done this. But then what is the difference between just thinking it and preventing or encouraging it is the intentionality, which is very, very extremely important, which is difficult for some people as well. So that feeds into my next question. Are men naturally prepared, conditioned for fatherhood? This is a...
Are they naturally prepared?
Yeah, are they naturally? Because some will say women are naturally prepared. You know, we see on social media, or as we were growing up, baby girls pushing dollies. I have a certain opinion on things like that. Pushing dollies, or, you know, being babysitters, or being told that, you know, one day you will be a mother. For fathers, as fathers, do you think it's the same? Do you think men are conditioned and prepared unconsciously to be a father?
You want to?
I think, I mean, I'm toying between the natural and then the conditions, obviously, what the whole nature versus nurture. I feel, like, giving the example you just gave now, I do feel women are definitely more conditioned, you know, into like being a wife or being a mother, and boys aren't necessarily like conditioned as to like husband, father element. But I do think both genders do have a natural wiring or, you know, desire when it comes to those areas. So, but I think preparation wise, I do think, if I'm being holistically, you know, and being honest, I don't think men are prepared like to be a father, like as a general sort of outlook. I feel like most, I'm not saying most, but I feel like there's happenstances that happen, and I feel like maybe preparation starts when it's okay, it's the time to have X, Y, Z, rather than it being something that's been nurtured or schooled from a younger age, so to speak. I mean, honest, I look at it.
I think it's a very difficult question, you know, because of the way young boys will learn from how young girls will also learn. So maybe, like you mentioned, a young girl might learn through nurturing and through that hands-on experience. Meanwhile, a young boy might learn through observation. So now, if you now look at it, maybe there's lack of fathers in the house. So I think to come back to what you're saying is, now the idea of now being prepared is difficult, Because if you now look at statistics of how many fathers are at home to the age that the young boy now begin to learn what it feels to be a man or to be a father, then the answer is no. But if it's a case of we have fathers at home whose sons can observe and watch their ways, and even if you look at the scripture, Jesus said, I do what I see my father do, and I say so it's more of observation for you to learn. So with sons, you don't necessarily need to sit them down and go, oh, this table is black, this is how you paint it. He's watching and observing you, how you're doing it, then he's going to replicate that. So we are more of nature of show me how to do it rather than tell me how to do it. Mm. So the fact that maybe we might have lack of fathers or present fathers, it then give the boy disadvantage in preparing him to be a man, or let alone saying stepping into fatherhood. And I think we both mentioning that a lot of things we're trying it because we've seen it, or we're trying it simply because we learn through spiritual fathers. Or so I think to answer you, yes or no. But yes, in terms of fathers are there for debate to guide you through, or spiritual fathers are there to guide you through. But holistically speaking, if you look at the probability of the statistics, it's no, we're not prepared. We learn from TV dads. My wife ate craze, everybody ate craze.
But that is so interesting, because when you do watch certain things on TV, or you hear celebrities speak, some of them will say people like Michael Cowell was a example of them. They fantasized about what their lives could look like middle class in the suburban, a boy, 2 girls, and a beautiful wife.
Yes.
Without actually looking at intentionality. But one thing that my wife and Kintu was with that, watching it back now in the mind is that there was a lot of reflection that was going on.
There was.
Yeah, there was a lot of counts. There was a lot of transference as well, where Michael would do what his dad done without reflecting. So, this is what was done to me. But then his wife would always, or his children sometimes would always have to put it back and be like, well, this is different. So that's actually a really good point, where men may learn to be fathers by observation.
Yeah.
What's Ayo, do you have anything?
I mean, even as you're sharing, I mean, and then I guess, like, obviously the question is naturally being prepared for fatherhood. Then I guess the question could be also being prepared to be good or bad fathers. Because I think all of us probably subconsciously have that desire to one day have kids or be a husband. So there's kind of what kind of father be us. Because when you say the key, I can't sit here and say that I had a class on how you become a husband, but then I do know, like you said, by observation, there are things I'm doing now, and even as I mature, as I grow up, that I know that as a man I should do this because that's what I want that do. You know what I mean, kind of thing. So there's a lot of subconscious conditioning, even through TV, as to what I think or believe that should look like. So I feel like once again, going back to the first point you made, maybe there isn't a lot of intentional teaching. Or parenting in the element of becoming a father, than there is versus the women becoming mothers, where I think that's where the lack is, and then therefore whatever we deem as a great influence is what we
go with. And I think that could come across back again to lack of communication between men, to sit down and have that difficult conversation about, okay, this is what it is, these are the steps you need to take, this is what you need to navigate through, and so forth. We might have grown maybe the first generation of African dads, maybe that's here. So it's more of, I say, you listen. You do. So I think even though those who might be present as well could be that. But like you said, it's a very good question to ask. What kind of that?
But do you think there is a fear of learning and unlearning? I think generally in society, people have a fear of learning and unlearning. People hold tight. We see it in our culture, where people have a narrative and they hold tight onto it, and it's almost heartbreaking to not be able to split that person. This person is good in this sense. This perception was good in this sense, but now it's not good in this sense. So do you think for men, when we're speaking about fatherhood, do you think there is a fear of unlearning what you've observed? Does that strip away their perception of being a man and a father? Because what are they left with if they've unlearned things that they now know is not applicable to their child?
I feel that. So if what you're saying there it even links back to the topic we discussed on our Men's Monday last week, why men fail. I feel like there's a failure that they're probably attached to what it means to unlearn something. So when I say when they hear unlearn or having to like redefine that, it's almost as if like dealing with the pain of the loss of the I spent all this time believing this to only realize that, oh my gosh, you know what I mean? So yeah, which goes back to once again, like, are we teaching our men to be courageous? Which is, you know, you can be scared, but then you can still arise to the occasion, you know what I mean, kind of thing. So I think we deal with this false idea of perfection of what we should be and how we become it. I have not been wise enough to understand that no, we're a work in progress where we have to learn, unlearn, unlearn. And that doesn't mean that you are a failure. It means that you can learn from failures that make you more wiser. You know what I mean? So I feel like that's the main definition of failure and a fear of that. And realizing that that's where we actually grow. Yeah. You know? So yeah.
I think that conversation probably start with your wife. I think that conversation you need to list it. I had this conversation with what kind of father are you going to be?
Intentionality.
Yeah, what kind of father are you going to be? Are you going to be a present father? Are you going to be giving the money and you're never around father? Are you going to be yours? Are you going to be hands-on dad? Are you going to be doing the school runs? So there's a lot, we had conversation about it. So there was an expectation of when you come through, what kind of dad did you grow up with? What were the things that you observed that you liked? What were the things that you observed you didn't like? So I think that conversation started from me and my wife, so that when I am unlearning and I'm feeling the way you were saying, maybe that fear, she can remind you and say, remember you said you observed this in your household and now you're doing it. So somebody can actually hold you accountable. So that they can also be a reminder to you that it's okay, you're doing a great job. Even when you feel like, I'm not doing good, or what I'm saying is not right. Like, you know what? No, you handle that very well. So it's a case also, that conversation probably needs to have a step 1.0 first, which is having that openness and being vulnerable to let them know, these are my strengths. So for example, in my house, I do not do homework with my son.
Okay.
Because I don't have the patience to teach you 1 + 1 = 2. So, because I'm very much on demand per hour. But my wife, she will sit down, he will get it wrong thousands of times, and she will correct him thousands of times. I'll be like, dude, I told you 1, 2, 3, 4. Go figure out the answer. So I am very much like, well. So, but with her, she sat down. So it's a place I'm learning how to do the homework with him. But meanwhile, when it comes to maybe teaching him different aspects of responsibility at home, I'm very much forwarded with that. And my wife is like, I don't understand this. So we find that balance. So hence, I think that probably come back to your first question, which is there a sole responsibility?
Okay, yeah.
So you need to identify your strength, the place where you're still struggling. Yes. So obviously, clearly, homework for me is number one thing, to sit down and explain 1 + 1.
And observe.
So I'm now going, okay, that's what she does. So for him now, when he's communicating about schoolwork, he doesn't come to me. So I'm like, when he comes to me, he go to mom.
for now, until the observations is finished. Until the observations are finished.
I'm working progress there. I can't repeat the equation. No, I'm telling him the answer is like, that's not right, Dad. I'm telling you, that's the answer. Go to mom. So it's that aspect of not feeling, because I'm aware of that.
Yeah.
So I know, okay, I need to work on that. So I'm not beating on myself about it. Go, okay, cool, because we'll find that conversation.
Yeah.
So I think with a lot of men, let the missus know, this is my weakness, this is my strength, this is where I'll step in, this is where you will step in while I'm growing here. And eventually, by the grace of God, I can also begin to support here. If I never do, then at least you know why. And if there's both of you have a conclusion of, no, this is very critical to the vision and the purpose of our home, you need to step up here. Then mentorship comes in, spiritual fathers comes in, people who you've observed in the community are doing really well, see under their feet and say, look, I'm struggling in this area. Can you please teach me how to do it? I'm struggling to be able to express myself to my son or to my children. Can you teach me how you're expressing yourself? Because I come from a home of dad is talking, nobody talk. Mom is talking. So it's one of those things that now I'm learning when my son says something back to hold myself like, wow, you said that back to me.
Have to be
you say something back and it's like,
themselves.
Is that daddy? No, that's not true. I'm like, you calling your father a liar?
He He's just saying it's not true.
So that is the background. So you have to be like, oh, okay, you have to encourage, even if it's difficult, I think, to unlearn.
Yes.
So you have to encourage to hear that and go, yeah, okay, you're right. You're right.
That's amazing. So amazing. But one thing that does come to me is, what about fathers who don't have wives?
Oh.
How do they do the unlearning? How do they communicate? Because for them, they may feel like the sole responsibility for them in their time is their time. So in their time, they have the sole responsibility. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So how would you, as married men who communicate with their wives about bringing up your children and had the intentionality, but how would you advise men who don't have that, who is just them and their time?
Good question.
And they're juggling co-parenting and what comes to co-parenting and trying to be a father.
It's a good question. I think this is what I was saying before about community. So I would definitely encourage those single fathers to definitely have other single fathers, or even other fathers who do have wives, to have a space where he can express himself. Hopefully he has a good relationship with his own parents. That's definitely an area of exploration as well for him to consider. But he should definitely should seek company and be isolated in his experience of doing it by himself. I think community and family is a good area for him to really to explore. So, which really comes back to what they're doing with this podcast about there being a space, there being opportunity for resources, and education, and that's to help people experiencing that can inspire and motivate and educate as well. So I think those would be avenues that I would advise.
So you can't do it by yourself.
It's not at all. Essential.
I think like-minded community is.
Yeah.
I think one thing I've realized is from the perspective of working professionally, there's a fathers group that is run, and although that fathers group is court ordered, but I've observed the fathers group and they've been able to create a community. Sometimes on wrong things like, I did a similar negative thing to my ex-partner and so did he, but they're forming a community. They formed the community first, and now the way they're receiving the knowledge from the facilitator is so different.
Right.
So it proves that community first, and then sometimes people are able to take on the information.
Yeah.
So in speaking about intentionality and community and reflection and honesty, do you think all men should become fathers? Do you think all men have the capacity to become fathers? And I'm speaking as a professional where sometimes I've had to make decisions where this father is not fit at the moment, does not have the capacity to parent a child. So there has to be a separation. So do you think, I know we're believers and the word of God tells us to go out and multiply, but these are honest, I'll be honest, these are honest conversations. We come from a community that still when women say, I don't want to become a mum, or when men say, oh, I like you, but I don't want to become a father.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh my gosh, not everyone's going to be Father Abraham.
Yeah.
But do men, and I want you guys to be honest, you may not agree with me, do all men have the capacity to be fathers?
I think women have the capacity or capability, but then whether they should or not is a whole, have different questions. So, like you said, there are unfit men that should definitely be nowhere near a child because they will cause more damage than good. So I feel like, because I see fatherhood as a calling,
Yeah.
It is.
And if it's a calling, then there has to be a time of preparation and process, before if I'm able to optimize what that calling actually is. So I feel like that all men, by virtue of having sperm, have the potential to become fathers. We can argue between a dad or father or sperm donor, where all that good stuff. But then there's also the capability,
The intentionality.
the attributes, the mental, emotional, physical well-being, to steward that. And I'll use the word on purpose, that amount of pressure. You know what I mean? Because it's not a walk in the park.
No.
You know what I mean? Like we both admitted, it tells you more about yourself, and to the degree that you can grow yourself, it's going to affect the ability that you're able to nurture, children to become, the highest, the best version of themselves. So I think, the question, should all men become fathers, is more about, are all men being prepared and being mature to become fathers. You know what I'm saying? Where we have to do the hard work.
So I guess I'll rephrase it for you participants is there a necessary amount of work, would you say, that men have to do before they make the decision to be fathers?
Yeah, I believe
We'll have the capacity sperm-wise.
Yeah.
Biologically, if you have the right sperm count, you can impregnate and you can become a father.
Yeah.
But both of you guys were spoken about reflection and intentionality, and I work in the field where I've seen some parents do not have the capacity for different reasons. Childhood trauma, health, false compliance, thinking they want to. So I've dealt with fathers that say, I want to give my child the world, but doesn't have the capacity to even feed their child. Not to think. They don't think, they think because they're not hungry, the child is not hungry.
Right.
Yeah, so not because of money. They don't have the capacity to see their child as a separate entity. So my rephrase of that question is there actually an amount of work that has to be intentionally done before you become a father? Or can you become a father and then start doing that work, and then your child picks up all the unconscious negatives? Answer the question.
Literally. Yeah, every man have in them the capacity to be a great dad. I don't think anyone becomes a dad and want to be this monstrous individual. I think society, traumas and everything else both of you have listed have contributed to that. I think the key thing is, because no father just become a father by himself, is with someone. So I think I've come back down to that idea of both of you having that honest conversation. Not in terms of what do we lack and where can we get the resources from to support us. So if somebody, for example, maybe dealing with mental health, and yes, they desire to be a father, is a case of, okay, what resources can we reach out to? If you're in denial, even the partner should be able to go, okay, let's reach out to these individuals and let's find friends or families that can be of support to be able to support both of us. So yes, all men can be fathers, but how many of them can do the work? I think is a question we can all still ask till tomorrow. Because we think maybe we can, and then we step into it and realize, okay, maybe waking up at 2 a.m. it's not the one, maybe school run is not the one, maybe changing pampers it's not the one.
Being there emotionally,
you want to hang out with the boys till 2 a.m. but you have to go home to take care of somebody else. And so if you feel like, there's an example of somebody who I know who categorically said, don't even want to be a dad. Completely said it. And then, the missus managed to convince him, and somehow they became parents. Now he can't even drop the child. Like, he's attached to the baby the whole time. If you see him, you would never thought this man 2 years ago refused. He was so kids.
There might have been an unconscious reason why
he didn't even like it. He said it openly. It's a thing that everyone knew. Like, this guy doesn't even like it. So now you can't literally, you have to negotiate. Can we just carry your baby for it? So those things, it can, but I think community is really key. I think having a church that you go to, or a place there where you can really hear the word of God that can heal, I think is good. I think we've both spoken about communities of men that you can really go to and be open. Find one in your area as a man, even while you're family planning, to connect to ask questions. Don't be ashamed of what it is. Find a church you can really go rooted, and find great examples of individuals as well that can support you. Can all men? Yes. But it's all about preparation beforehand.
I think
finding resources that can support.
I think both of your answers were great, because one thing is that at times, unfortunately, children and babies are unconsciously sometimes what people think is going to heal them. So when people say things like, I needed my child more than they needed me, I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. It's a baby. And sometimes, again, consciously and unconsciously, the reasons why people have children is not for their intentionalities, for what they think the feeling do for them. And then, as you know, when the baby comes, the baby doesn't give you that feeling sometimes. So I think that intentionality and that reflection and that community is important. And our last discussion point is about community.
Yes.
Both of you hold such amazing communities. But however, in the community, in local authorities are actually creating spaces for men. We have paternal classes now, fathers groups, not only court-ordered, community one, Saturday men's groups now. But we are still seeing that men are not engaging. I know, Pastor Ayo, your ministry is now seasoned now, but why are men not engaging? Because I've done consultations and men have said, okay, we need more information in the GPs. Okay, we need to be referred. Okay, health visitors and nurses just ignore us and focus on the mum, which I have to give a listening ear and relay it back. But again, why are men not accessing the support that is there? What is the gap?
I mean, yeah, it's a really good question. Everyone asks this question.
Where's the gap?
There's various things, man. As we all agree, humans are complex, right? We've spoken about unconscious. We're talking about childhood trauma. We're talking about different things that contribute and affect men in different ways. Yeah. And I feel like the subconscious condition of manhood and what that looks like in the context of help. There's a level of toxicity that maybe is making men passive. I think number one answer, passivity. Yep. In regards to the available work, help that's there, and you moving from A to B to actually get it, which comes from very different things for different men. So, there's a lot we need to heal. Yeah. One day we spoke about why men fail, why men kill, and we spoke about why men heal, and we went into just different areas of just aspects of our journey. But one thing that came up a lot was that a lot of the guys all spoke about how they were able to navigate emotionally growing up. Yeah. Maybe now having to do a lot more work in their 20s and 30s now on an emotional level, which when I say that, I'm talking about just being able to process anger. So we spoke about Cain and Abel. We spoke about his anger was a manifestation of sadness because he was unhappy that his sacrifice wasn't accepted by God. Yeah. So then we focus on anger. The real emotion behind it was sadness. How do you process being sad? Rejection. You know what I mean? All that sort of so I feel like the gap, if I'm honest, man. How people process their emotions, their feelings, and then with their understanding of how they should be, it's creating that gap of passivity, I believe, that doesn't enable them to move forward to get the help that they want. And that's something that at 412 that we work hard on. And I'm honest with you, like half of the guys that come, the reasons, number one, my wife told me about this. Literally, the other half will be other men, or like I said, they watch me and they like what they see, kind of thing. So I'm realizing, right, okay, community, my example, and then also there's women that are willing to also push them, the men to come as well. So that's good.
So one of the reasons may be, which I agree with, because I had this back and forth, is the passivity that women maybe don't have the space to be, where they have to engage with community services, community or else, their conditions maybe are more accepted. So if they have depression, it's more accepted. Maybe if things are going wrong, they feel that they get the blame. But with men, it's easier for them to be lost in transition. Yeah. Pastor Prince, would you like to add to that?
I think you explained it really well. And I think society should study where men gather the most and see what they do there.
That's fine.
That's it. So
it's actually a group. If you look at Peckham, the pub, a good fathers group.
So if there's fathers group, if there is sports, so it's like these things are very simple. Yeah. They're well laid out. There is expected. There's an expectation that's placed on it, and then they know what they're going to get. And they don't know the outcome of it.
But then can fathers always engage with their children in those settings? Because in the settings that community have created, local authority, CICs have created, some fathers can engage with their children, have time for themselves, but also engage with their children?
I think fathers can definitely do that, but we just need to make sure that from home we are not saying, oh, men do this and women do this. I think all of a sudden that divides them.
Yeah.
And then so when it doesn't involve them, they just fold their arms and they almost become a bystander. So even when it comes to changing purpose, let them do it as well. Because you go out, you see women just carrying the baby the whole time and the dad is just there holding the bag. So emotionally, he's disconnected from the whole process.
Yeah.
So it's a case of, even when my wife was pregnant and we're going to the meetings, I was involved.
Yeah.
I was there every meeting.
Yeah.
I was sitting there. Even when he's going to this little group play, I'll be the only dad in there. So I'll be sitting there, and of course I want to be deliberately. So I think there are just ways we just need to engage fathers more in the process.
Okay.
To bring them along. So even in this case of, look, I'm going to go for this place. Can you please make sure there's a time created, even if it's 30 minutes, let them be involved, leave them alone one-on-one with the child and stand aside and see how it's then get involved rather than saying, oh, you're not doing it properly, and just take the child. So all of a sudden then, he would then think he is not needed at that stage. Or maybe when he's a man, I'll step in. When he learns how to drive or when he learns how to have a girlfriend, then men will not keep living at the end. So I think society as well, including NHS and everybody else, needs to be more conscious on how they get fathers involved. So even make sure your husband is also coming to this appointment. We want to talk to both of you so that we make sure that both of you are hearing it and both of you also carry the same level of responsibility. Because with us, we're not carrying the pregnancy. So it's easy for a man to detach. It's easy for a man to just leave a home and just walk out the door and that's it. And then with a woman, maybe it's more difficult because she carried the child and she's nurturing the child and so forth. So I think that way, and we need to study more where, there'll be a football game and there'll be 100,000 men in there. And they will carry their 2-year-old lifting up their shoulder and watching football. So if we can look into that, we can see churches as well, community like yours, where men come together. We need to not just look at it from objectively, we need to get into it. Okay, what makes you come here? Why are you here? Okay, maybe your wife told you to come, but why did you stay?
Yeah.
And if we begin to stay. Yeah, why did you stay? Begin to pick out that psychological aspect of, I want to feel belong. Look at gangs. So it's not like, young boys don't want to connect. It's not that they don't want to engage. It's like, wherever you're engaging them with, they're not buying it. Okay. But somebody else is managed to engage them to do the most difficult things, carrying weapons and doing all manner of things. And they're willing to do that. And you're saying just sit down in a place and listen for 20 minutes and they're not doing it. So we need to understand that what is it that we are packaging and how are we selling it? Because if 100,000 stadiums could be packed and the ticket per season is almost £2,000 and they're paying for it and they're going to an hotel, driving there, it will come rain or shine. Men never change their barbers. They don't change their football team. So if they can be loyal and they can be engaging in all these aspects, I think we need to look into that and then translate that into how we deal with men across, even in churches as well.
Yeah. So then, a good place that you raised that. I think, even examples again, there's a lot of practicality in those scenarios. There may be what a man would think coming to like a father's group would look like, say, which then again goes back to conditioning and perspective, that have been built for what they've seen elsewhere. So there has to be a whole rebranding, remarketing, whatever word we can use to that provide value, that communicate value, so to these men, for them to understand why they should be in this space. Because like myself, I was at all the the prenatal courses, and for me, because I actually wanted to understand and have knowledge about, and that's because I was equally, or if not more, invested. I did kind of try, but invested in like being able to. I was conscious.
Yes.
I had enough. What's the word? Maybe humility to acknowledge that what, I don't actually have all the. I need to. I was even witnessing my wife go through pregnancy, having to understand what is happening to this woman's body. Why the curiosity? When I first found out, she told you, I went on YouTube. I was YouTubing about, I was saying, was hardly anything there. I didn't apart from the. So so there is a lot of things that I think conditioning affects why these men aren't there. Even things that you mentioned. I was at a funeral Monday. I was changing my son's nappy. A woman like, have you got this? I was like, I'm telling you nappies for tea. But she just consciously thought that, I'm doing. That's what I'm saying. So, but on another hand, though, I would say, like, I do feel like in our generation, though, dads are a lot more involved. I will share my one.
Narrative is changing.
I said to my wife, I see more dads pushing buggies on the street than I have seen women of recently, especially becoming a father and before that. And I thought, you know what? Even when we had a conversation about reflecting on our own parents, you know, there's context that's very important that we have to provide. And especially becoming a father now, they were like first generation from Africa coming to
They had their own experience.
They had their own experience and their own thing that were affecting. And I think one of the luxury they did have was time.
Yeah.
You know, money, you know what I mean? So, you know, I'm thinking about my dad who worked nights, took me to school, called my mum would go to work, you know, X, Y, and Z. So there's different expressions of how we can even define how involved our parents are based on their content that they have.
Context.
You know what I mean? So I feel like now we have a privilege where we have a lot more autonomy maybe on how we've done our lives and careers that enable us to make choices that are, you know, better, so to speak, if I can use that word loosely. So I do feel like there's so many factors that play into this, you know, and I feel like time is a big one. Even now, my mindset behind money now is like, how is money buying back my time? You know what I mean? Because now that my father, one natural thing I want to do is to work more, you know what I mean? But then I'm going to tell you, I think first week, he said, look, Ayo, you know, you have to choose between presence and presence.
Yeah.
Like, your son will not remember what but you remember when you were there.
Yeah.
He will remember whether you were there or not, or whether you not how much stuff you bought for him.
Yeah.
You know, that really stuck with me till now, where I'm just really want to make choices about what I'm doing, like, you know, the value of like being present versus riding presence, you know what I mean, kind of thing. So so
thank you. That is amazing. I think we're going to leave it there. I think I do want to highlight that there was a time in this where both of you were engaging, and it was just about fatherhood, and it was something that I can't experience, and it was just amazing to see. And I think that's the authenticity of the transition between just being a man and then going into fatherhood. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you for having us. It's already, you know,
Hello, my name is Lisa Ogbeide, the founder of the Parent Advice Hub. I really, really do hope that you have found the discussions so meaningful so far. Please do subscribe and check us out at the Parent Advice Hub on Instagram. Also, you can check out our website on www.theparentadvicehub.com. Thank you so much.